Hello and welcome back to No Bullshit. Today we return to talking about the newly premiered Batwoman TV show airing on the CW that was already getting woke as hell before it was even released. And now that the show has finally started airing and new announcements and ratings are coming in on it, well, believe it or not, this series is actually getting even more political and left-wing biased. I mean, does it really get any more pro-liberal than hiring a major network news anchor who's not only working for one of the most blatantly biased news networks in the world, MSNBC, but also the new Batwoman cast member is a literal liberal propagandist who not only cried on the air multiple times over President Trump getting elected and doing his job, but also this particular news anchor has been one of the most radical conspiracy theorist pushing people and pro-Russia collusion narrative voices out there in the news over the past few years. I'm of course talking about Rachel Maddow, who's not even an actor, but I guess you can call her news reporting on NBC a bit of a performance art. And despite Rachel making very few TV appearances from what I've seen, she's been hired for this new Batwoman show. I think I maybe remember Rach getting one cameo in a movie one time too, but now she's being bumped into playing a villain on the CW's new woke Batwoman show. Perfect choice really, since we already know this show is going to be liberal propaganda pushing and total garbage. So what better way to solidify that take than to hire one of the worst left-wing propaganda pushers of our lifetimes? I really can't overstate how bad of an anchor and how biased of a reporter Rachel Maddow truly is. She's happily been going on the news every night for years, pushing flat-out lies on MSNBC. Now, for a second, just imagine if a show did something similar in the inverse. For example, if, say, the new Marvel show called Hawkeye to appear on Disney Plus, well, what if they hired Glenn Beck as a new main character? How do you think that would play out in the media and in public discourse? I think we can all agree the news people would come after that show hardcore, and probably try and get it canceled too. More importantly, no major TV show would ever think to hire a right-leaning, over-the-top news anchor like Glenn Beck in the first place. Hell, they wouldn't even hire a normal, level-headed, slightly conservative host either. I was going to use Tucker Carlson as an example here too, but he really doesn't compare to Rachel Maddow as well, since Tucker's not crazy and crying on TV and pushing conspiracy theories and straight-up lies like Rachel. And sure, Glenn Beck isn't the worst example of a radical right-winger out there today, but he's the best we got for today, and he's the best that I can mention on this website without getting myself censored in the process. For more details on Rachel Maddow and the Batwoman story, let's turn to an article that supports that casting called "The CW's Batwoman Has a New Enemy and It's Rachel Maddow." Check this bullshit out. In what some are calling the greatest lesbian crossover event of all time, the superhero world's most prominent lesbian, Batwoman, is about to find a new foe in the most prominent lesbian of primetime news. That's right, Rachel Maddow is coming to Batwoman. As the Hollywood Reporter explains, Maddow, MSNBC News host, will be joining the CW superhero drama in the role of Vesper Fairchild. In the comics, Vesper Fairchild is a TV and radio news commentator who hooked up with Bruce Wayne. In the show, she'll play a prominent critic of Batwoman, though there is a catch. Maddow will be appearing voice only. We consider Vesper Fairchild to be the sardonic voice of Gotham, showrunner Carolee Dries told the Hollywood Reporter. In addition to Rachel's interest in Batwoman, we thought she'd be the perfect casting choice because her hard-hitting journalism widely contrasts Vesper's penchant for snark, gossip, and criticism of female superheroes. Wow, lots of interesting things to note here for sure. First of all, I would hardly call Rachel Maddow a hard-hitting journalist. As I already went over extensively, Rachel has been pushing now debunked Russia collusion narrative stories for years, based on lies. And even though that story has long been proven wrong, and there's been no evidence or indictments or anything to come from it whatsoever, well, despite that, Rachel still continues to try and scare her viewers by bringing up this Russia boogeyman all the time. Clearly, this is not something a hard-hitting journalist or even a mildly respectable one would do. But in this day and age, attacking President Trump and trying to get him impeached for no reason, that's valued more than actual news reporting in current year. So, if Rachel's not really known for her quality in her reporting, then what is she famous for then? Well, this article says it right in the beginning. The whole reason Rachel's even around is the same reason the Batwoman show is getting made and getting hyped too. It's because they're both lesbians, and in current year, social justice warriors in the mainstream media will do whatever they can to pander to LGBTQ alphabet people in any way possible. Rachel could have attempted a career in reporting without being such a flagrant in-your-face lesbian too, and Batwoman could have made their show without referencing her sexuality whatsoever. But then we wouldn't be talking about either of these characters, so they chose to go with the much easier and and less merit-based route of being in-your-face lesbians who demand jobs, careers, promotions, and special treatments because they are supposedly oppressed or something. Never mind the fact that being lesbian is the whole reason these two groups got rich and famous in the first place, but they will gladly pretend they are still oppressed, like what's about to happen when we get to these early reviews of the Batwoman TV show. You see, as the first episode of Batwoman finally aired just a week or so back, the reviews started to pour in afterwards, and they're pretty much what you'd expect. Most normal people hate the show, and they despise its social justice warrior pandering and woke anti-straight male messaging too. But at the same time, as things go with modern projects like this now, the biased left-leaning media critics are all praising the show as one of the best. They don't care about the episodes or their quality or entertainment value as they should. Really, liberal movie and TV reviewers only care about towing the line with SJWs and making sure they don't get fired or worse if they speak out against media products deemed untouchable by the woke left. Before we get to Batwoman though, there is a few other recent examples of this disconnect between the fans and the critics to go over, to lay some groundwork here, to see how we got to where we are today. The first one that comes to mind is Dave Chappelle's comedy special that sparked its own controversies about a month or so ago. Here you can see its reviews on Rotten Tomatoes, and then below that you can see them compared to the reviews of a woke SJW approved comedy special whose stand-up comedian ironically looks like Rachel Maddow or Batwoman too, with that short haircut. And as you can see, while Dave's special has done overwhelmingly well with his fans and average comedy viewers, the critics still tried to bash the guy, probably for daring to buck the system and speak out against woke cancel culture, amongst other things. And then, below Dave again, the Hannah Gadsby special, it's getting 100% positive reviews based on the left-wing critics, while at the same time, fans seem to be mixed on their reviews of it at best. Now, with all that said, do you guys really think this no-name Hannah chick is actually funnier than Dave Chappelle? Because I think anyone who's honest and has half a brain cell would tell you Dave is obviously funnier. He's one of the greatest living comics out there today, but for some reason, the SJW media critics at Rotten Tomatoes decide to rate him much lower because of their biased hacks. And as the South Park creators said in an article and interview, these critics are trying to slam Chappelle and give him bad reviews because they want to keep their jobs. Keeping their careers and their access and good standing with woke mainstream media is more important to reviewers now than giving real honest takes and responses, which was supposed to be their job at first, but clearly that's not the case much anymore. Next, back to Batwoman, who's also been getting similar reviews to the Hannah Gadsby special. Here we can see while the critics are trying to prop this woke garbage up as hard as they can, it's still only getting a 72% approval with them. And then the fan and audience score is currently sitting at a devastating 9%. Wow, that really says all we need to know, but for shits and gigs, let's read what Rotten Tomatoes' little critics consensus blurb says. It reads, though it needs more time to develop its own identity to truly soar, Batwoman's fun and stylish first season is a step in the right direction for representation and superhero shows alike. A step in the right direction for representation? What does that even mean? I guess that's well put in SJW terms for Rotten Tomatoes. And I guess the quality of the product doesn't matter as much as the identity politics a project supports. Gone are the days when you had to make a good TV show with interesting and entertaining premises and make it well shot and well produced. Now you just gotta put minorities or alphabet people in the main roles and in the directing and writing roles, and you'll not only get picked up by major networks, but also all the liberal reporters and critics will bend over backwards to try and make your show a hit, even though it doesn't deserve to be, clearly. This also works in the inverse too, as we've seen and gone over before. With Dave Chappelle's example, your product could be fantastic and one of the best shows of the year, but if you don't virtue signal enough, or if you dare to speak out against the left-wingers, they will give you bad reviews and bad press anyway, and even try and get you canceled in the process. Sounds awful, terrible, and like we're living in some sort of bizarro world now, but make no mistake, this is how absurd current year America has really become in entertainment. Fortunately, if you know better like most of us, you can figure out what's good and bad if you're able to read between the lines. Basically, if the left-leaning critics hate it, it's probably really good, and if they love it, it's probably woke bullcrap. Next, things get even more interesting when the critics and the mainstream media attempt to explain away the bad reviews from the audiences here. As you might have suspected, and as we've seen time and time again, what the left-wingers do when the fans give their woke products bad reviews is they call us all sexist, racist, bigots, or homophobes. This happened with all the lady and feminist reboots like Ghostbusters 2016, and the more recent and upcoming Terminator Dark Fate, which features a predominantly female cast too, with a leading lady that has a bowl cut and everything. Funny how that same bowl cut is racist if a non-lesbian looking person sports it, but if it's the girl Terminator or the very pro SJW Charlize Theron, it's A-okay then. Speaking of okay, the okay hand gesture is allowed if it's it's used by pro-leftists too. And they're also allowed to criticize or dislike certain media products if they want to as well. But if we do the same, well, you guys all know the drill. Finally, as you can see here, doing a simple Google search for news about Batwoman shows that the talking points have been shared with all the review sites and they've been told how to defend this thing. According to the left, Batwoman isn't getting bad reviews because the show is poorly made, and it's not because people don't like being preached to about SJW politics. No, this obvious and accurate answer won't do, so they've resorted to calling the bad reviews review bombing, even saying it's been done by trolls who hate lesbians like the main character or some shit. Absolutely wrong and dishonest, and also a failed tactic that hasn't worked for other woke products, as we already went over before. For more details and to read into an example of this rewriting of Batwoman's review history, let's turn to an article from CBR.com called "Batwoman's Review Bomb Campaign Has Nothing to Do with the Show's Quality, If You Say So." I think being against the wokeness of the whole project and the forced diversity and the hinge of it being a female-led lesbian hero, well, that has everything to do with the show's quality. The article then goes on to point out that most of the bad reviews are coming from men, as if that's a bad thing. Men reviewing products in a genre that we're known to enjoy more is not a noteworthy point, at least not in the way this article thinks. Really, men review this show more because Batwoman is entering a male-dominated space, and there's nothing wrong with that either. Complaining about men watching and reviewing your comic book-based shows and movies is actually what's wrong here. In the end, the real issue is women and SJW types are trying to invade male spaces once again, and then when that fails, they get mad and call us sexist when they don't like our honest responses to their shitty SJW-influenced products. And for one more example and one more imagination, let's just think how ridiculous this situation would be in the inverse too. If, say, men tried to make a pro-male, anti-SJW show in the female-dominated genre of reality TV shows like, say, Keeping Up with the Kardashians, well, if we attempted that and then got mad that mostly women were reviewing our pro-male product poorly because it didn't fit into their female space, well, they would call us stupid and ridiculous for expecting otherwise, as they should. And, well, so too should these woke activists see that what they're doing with Batwoman is just as silly and off base. Really, the problem here isn't that men are sexist and review bombing. The problem is Batwoman is woke SJW bullcrap and it's getting the bad reviews it deserves. But the liberals creating and supporting that stupid show just can't seem to accept the truth. What do you guys think? Was casting Rachel Maddow a good or bad choice for Batwoman? And are the bad reviews here genuine? Or do you think the SJWs are right to smear the responses coming from actual comic book fans and viewers? Comment your thoughts on everything below, and thanks for watching No Bullshit. Hit that like button if you enjoyed this video, and we'll see y'all next time.